Hello, good morning, students. Am I audible?
Morning.
Okay, have a look in your chat box. I have sent one APK file. You try running onto your device and see how it is working, whether it is working fine or showing some problem, because that's the same code. I mean, it's code we will going to see today, which we have already discussed in the previous session. So meanwhile, you can first try out running that app inside your phone and see how it works. Yes, is it running? Yes, students. Is that app getting installed onto your device?
Ma'am,
Yes.
a notification's popping up that this may harm your device. So, are you sure you want to keep the APK file? So, ma'am, like I hit cancel on it because of that message.
See, actually, this is like when I've shared this APK, it is like a third-party app only, na. So normally Android doesn't allow anything to be downloaded or installed apart from the authorized packages from Google Play Store. But you can install it, not an issue, because
Ma'am, but it's not installing, like not installed notification it's showing.
it's not getting installed.
Yes,
No.
ma'am. It's always
Like
showing app not installed.
What is not installed?
app not installed.
App not installed. Okay, because I had installed it on my phone. I mean through Android Studio. Then I thought if you can use it on your phone and you can see how it works, because we have to go into gallery app and I mean to verify the output. And once again, trying to send. So try again. Did you get the another APK? Yes, have you got another APK file? So one more give a try with this new APK. If it works, then fine. Otherwise, we will see the demo here itself. Not any issue. But since on my emulator gallery app is not there, so that's why I thought if you can do it on your phone and see how it works, then it would be good. Is it working for someone? Yes. I hope I'm audible, students. Is it working for someone?
Not for me, ma'am.
Anyone else? Yes, is it working? Students or anyone? Is it getting installed or not? At least you can say yes or no. If it is not working, then also it is fine. We can see it here.
No, ma'am, not working.
So same problem it is showing.
Yes, ma'am. App not installed.
Okay. I hope the screen is visible, right?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay, so let us first see how the app is working and then we can go through the code. Okay. So this is how it UI appears. So यहाँ पे अभी बहुत simple and minimal UI is being designed. Only one image view and one button which says take photo. And this time we had not used the standard image view, rather we had used a circular image view. So generally we might have seen, many applications has this circular image view for taking the profile and setting the profile pictures because it utilizes somewhat lesser space. So, but that is optional, not hard and fast that you should use. And here you can see the default image, which is the launcher icon. But of course, you can set it to some other default image. So, being a bit lazy, I have just set it to some already existing drawable because anyway, this has to be get replaced with the one which we will going to click now. Okay. So once you click on this button, take photo. So it will going to launch the camera for you. Okay. And since it's an emulated device, so you will get always this by default view in your camera. So for a testing purpose, you can just go ahead with it. No matter whatever is the image, we just have to see whether the image which we had to click, whether it's going to appear in the image view or not. So once the image is been clicked, we're going to say okay, and the same will going to be set onto our image view. And there is one text view here. Okay, the default content of the text view is set to nothing, so that's why nothing was visible. But once you had clicked the image, you have got the file name of that image. So the initial what you can say, initially we had append something into a file which looks like this. So if you can recall our yesterday's code discussion, we had appended this string in the beginning, which says JPEG underscore, then appending with the timestamp, okay, date and the timestamp. So you can see the today's date and whatever is the system time, so that has been recorded. Okay, so now once this app has captured this image, and now we are trying to realize whether this image has been shared or whether it has been stored inside the device or not. So you can go back and check inside your application. Wait I will- so you can go inside the device manager or maybe the file manager, and if you have gallery app, you can directly go into the gallery app, which is not present here. You can just go into the files and you can visit your images section inside the camera. So the images which are clicked would be shown here, but yesterday whatever images, I mean, I had clicked, it is showing, but today's images it is not showing. Probably I have to close everything out and then relaunch the application again, maybe. But what we have to see is whether this image has been stored somewhere inside our storage or not, so that we can see it from here as well. So before we jump into the code, let us see where this image has been created as a file, because yesterday, if you can recall, we had implemented a function which can convert this image into a file, okay, and with the given naming convention. So where you can find this, first of all, so here when your emulator is running, okay, so you can find this device file explorer, which is somewhat, I mean, similar to the file system that you want to see for your device. So you should know that the Android follows the same file system as that of Linux. So everything, all the directory structure that appears here is almost similar to the Linux file system. Okay, so you have to open this device file explorer, okay, from here, and you need to go inside this folder called storage, and there you would find this two subdirectories, emulated and self. So you have to go inside self, sorry, emulated, and inside emulated you would find again this two subdirectory structure. So there you have to traverse, okay, and you have to find your application package, okay. So inside the Android and inside the data, because as you all know, whenever you install any application onto your device, and when you want to see the device files and the data, okay, then you have to visit to this path, that is Android data, and inside that you would find a package for your application which is in a need to store the data, and which has some code which is written which can store the data. So inside this directory structure, you would find files, and inside files, you would find the directory structure pictures. Okay, so you can see all the images which has been clicked. Okay, those will going to appear here, and if you double click on any of the image, so you would see that the image actual image content. Okay, so that is how it is. So the same way you can imagine onto your real device, it will going to appear, and you can also go back into your gallery app to see whether the image is been stored inside. I mean, of course the image would be stored inside the storage, but whether it is accessible in the gallery app or not. Okay, so that is the reason I had shared that APK with you, so that you can go through it. So, but if not now, then later when I'll share the code, what you do, instead of running the code onto the emulator, you run the code onto your device. Okay, so first attach your device and that would appear inside this list of connected device. And instead of launching the app onto the emulator, you launch the app onto your real device so that it will get, I mean, the APK get installed and you will be able to observe the output. Okay. So I hope the output and the file storage is understood. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But ma'am,
Yeah.
why does it rotate the image?
That I also don't know when I'm clicking it, but it is not happening, I guess, with our real device because I have tested it yesterday. It's not happening like that. It is the image is appearing as it is. I think you may also check when I will share the code as I said, so you can try out whether image is rotating or not. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
so I'll share the image. Okay, it's of no use to share the image because इमेज शेयर करके कुछ पर्पस सॉल्व नहीं होगा. Just let me do one thing. Because I tried one way of sharing the APK, that is this, but I don't know what are the other ways with which I can share. So you may try out when I will share it on, or you may find out the same code because I don't think so I had changed anything into the code as such. So you can take the code from classroom itself. Okay, so I don't think I have changed anything into the code as such. Okay, so all the code and everything is similar. So now we will going to look at initial design. Okay, how it is, and though it was very simple, you have seen just one button and one image view. So button ke liye we don't have to bother, but we need to see how to have the circular image view. So here you can see that inside the linear layout, there's one image view. Okay, but this view is a circular image view. So which is like a third party view, which is not the Android supported view. So to use this third party view, okay, circular image view, we have to include the dependency in our Gradle file, okay, build.gradle, which is located here. So we need to go inside this file and include this implementation inside the implementation tag under the dependencies, because this is a third party library, you can say, or we are using third party view to have this what you can say alternate circular image view. So you can find it from where I have got it. Just wait, I have found the link. So here, this entire code for the circular image view is given and how to include it inside your application. So inside the Gradle, we have to include this dependency or just one line, and then we can go ahead with its usage like this. So I've simply added this dependency and copied this part so that we can have the circular image view in our code. Okay, so I hope this is understood how to include it. And as you can see, the SRC is pointing to IC launcher round, but you can of course store some image in your drawable or in mipmap, and you can point your SRC to the actual image. Okay. So once that is done, the button code has nothing much in the UI part, but it is calling one function. That is our first function that we wrote. Okay, that is a dispatch take picture intent. So which was responsible for calling the camera app and capturing the image. So even before I jump to the code, let us first have a look at the manifest file. So before we invoke the camera, we need to include or we need to access the hardware by writing or by including users feature element inside our manifest, where we need to write like this, that users feature android name is equal to android hardware.camera, because we want the camera to be first available before we run our application. So for that we are saying required equal to true. So app will not going to execute, not going to install if it is not finding the camera hardware. Okay, and here as you can see, there are additionally we had declared some permission. Okay, so why this permission? Because we need to access the storage. and we are accessing the storage for reading and writing purpose. Okay, and that is your external storage device. So that is why we needed this two more, I mean, permissions also to be added along with this users feature. Okay, so apart from using the camera hardware, we are also accessing the device storage. So to access the storage, we need to have the permissions. Okay, I hope this is understood. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now coming inside our application tag. So as you can see, we have only one activity. So you'll find only one activity entry here, and we have provider. So we will going to we need to include the provider as well because we are going to make use of provider. So as I said, first we need to include inside the provider which provider we are going to make use of. So we need to provide the path of its support library. Then the authority. Authority is nothing but our own application. So this application ID is pointed to by here, okay, by your build.gradle. So this is like just like a variable, okay. So the variable application ID is pointing to com.example.content provider, which is nothing but our package name. Okay, so authority is our own package name. Why we are declaring it as authority? Because we are going to own all this data. We are going to create this data, or we can say the content. Okay, and writing our dollar indicate that we are interested in the value of this variable. And as we discussed in the yesterday's session, this two parameter exported equal to false means you're not giving the whole access of the data to other application, but you are allowing it like a scope. You're defining that any other app can access it with the help of a URI. Okay, then when you include the provider, comes with a metadata which denotes the file path. Okay, so that you need to include it like this: android.support file provider path, and which should point to the an XML file which includes the path. So you can see that here is one file with the same name, and it is pointing to an external path. Okay, so the path which is, you know, where our data are stored or where our data content would be created. So always remember that, you know, with this method that we had invoked, get external directory, okay, somewhere we had used it. Okay, get external file directory. So we had used it at multiple places. So basically when you use this what you can say method, so it directly points to this path. Okay, I mean the prefix path, and this prefix path had to be defined here. Okay, so that is the reason you can see that android data and inside com.example.content provider, and inside files and inside pictures we have got this all images being created. Okay, so this is the path that we are defining inside our application to store the in-app data. Okay, so this is how if your app in a need to store some data, then it has to include this XML file. Okay, now how to create this XML file? So we just have to come to the res. Okay, because it is, as you can see, it is created inside the res folder, and inside the XML directory structure this file name exists, that is file underscore path. Okay, so this we can create by right clicking and saying new and calling the Android resource file. So first of all, XML directory structure has to be created, which is nothing but one type of resources. Okay, so for that you have to, sorry, wait, Android resource directory. Okay, and for that you have to now select from here what is the type of resource that you want to create. So as you can see, there are layout, menu, map, navigation. So navigation will include when you are working with the map. Menus will include when you are going to design the navigation, what you can say, navigation setup. Okay, sidebar navigation. Then raw you will going to make use of when you're working with the media files or something like that. Okay, then values is anyway existing. So here you would find XML. So you would just say XML and say okay. Now if I try to do so, so it will not going to allow me because it is already existing. So use a different qualifier. So one XML directory structure is already created, so it won't allow me But once you do it for the first time, then it will definitely get created. Now, once you are assuming that your XML has been created, you then have to right click on XML and say new and say XML resource file. Okay, so now whatever is the name, so I had created one more file path. So same way you can just go and write any type of a file path that you want to create. So you can write file path 2. Okay, and this being inside main and inside the directory structure XML, because as you can see it has to be created inside res XML, so which is already, we had right clicked on it, so it is already pointing to this. And when you just say okay, so this file will get created, and by default you find some other tag, you just replace it with the one which you are interested in. Okay, and here you have to just write the way that it has been written here with the external path. Okay, so now your file will look something similar to like this once you include this one line. So now I'm deleting this both the files because it is not required now. Only one file is enough to define the external path where our directory structure is supposed to be created and our file content need to be stored. So I hope this part is understood. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I just had a question.
Huh.
That dollar sign that you had used for application ID, can that syntax be used in like any file? As in, for example, if we want to pass a value from one activity to another activity, so can you we use that syntax to do
This
so?
can be this can be used across the not inside the code, okay, but across the directory structures that we have. So why it is accessible? Because our because of a Gradle support, basically you can say. So there we have everything created as a key value pair, right? So if you want to access any of this parameter which is in the form of a key value pair, so that you can do it, okay, that you can access it. Suppose somewhere in your code you may be in a need to find out what is the minimum SDK version installed. Okay, so you can just go and access it. But if I just talk about the minimum SDK version, if you can remember the code that we had seen during the writing the notification, so there we had one constant build.gradle and build.sdk and then dot version. So basically that gives you an access to the minimum SDK version. Okay, but let us suppose if you have to access any of these key value parameter, which is, so these are like the global variables, environment variables only. So you can access it like this, the way we have used it here inside our manifest file. So I guess I had not tried it in any other file apart from the manifest file. And the reason behind doing so is, anytime whenever our application name gets changed, because now if I ask you to simulate the same code, they may not give the same package name as that of mine. You might think of something else and you create your application. Okay. So in that case, you don't have to worry about coming here and writing the fixed package name. So it will going to retrieve whatever is the name of your package automatically, because this code basically, as you can see, there are so many things we are doing in it. Okay, so one can forget to go back and do all these things. So that is the reason it becomes handy when you are trying to include it. So apart from manifest file, I haven't tried doing it. But why I did it, because sometimes when you see the last year especially, I had to run the code sometime on my laptop, sometime on different desktop in a college. Okay, so every time doing so much of step, we need to keep in mind. एंड वो भूल जाने की वजह से क्या होता है कि then we get stuck at some point. I mean, we start getting errors and all, and then we have to scratch our head recalling where do we missed anything. So वो सब करने से अच्छा I found out this, and I, because here is the requirement that we need to specify the application package name. Otherwise, for other code that we have seen so far, till yet we haven't come across like this, right? So this becomes like handy.
Okay, ma'am. But ma'am, the thing is that I was thinking because we can use it in, for example, some file like manifest file, but we can only take values from the Gradle file. Because I wanted to know कि अगर, for example, I have activity 1 and activity 2. So can I take a value from activity 1 and pass it to activity 2? But I think this
And
can
you
only
are
be.
also interested in one of the Gradle parameter.
No, ma'am, not any of the Gradle parameters.
But any value that you are receiving from activity 1 and you wanted to send it to activity 2. That is how.
Yes, yes, ma'am, like
But
that.
then in that case, you have explicit intent only as a mechanism.
Okay, ma'am, we have that, but then वही I was thinking कि
No,
ये dollar
because see, नहीं ये उसके लिए नहीं चलेगा. ये कैसा है ना? These are like what should I say? These are like all metadata of our application, which is accessible to all the active. I mean, to all the different context of our project. Like अभी कैसा है कि when you are taking user input data ना अभी अगर if it is not user input data, because if it is user input data, then the context will get changed. Okay, and that is why we have different mechanism for accessing the data when it is being received from user from one activity to another activity when you need to pass. But now these are all like common to all the application, sorry, common to each and everything which you can see inside our directory structures. So these are like application specific parameter. So throughout your project, wherever you want to use it, of course you can use it like this. Okay, you can use it like this. But
Okay.
some time, or I can say somewhere, like for example for version itself, we have a constant variable available. So we're going to make use of that constant variable itself to work with it. Okay, because it is being provided like that only, so we have to work with whenever we want to work in our code, so we have to work like that only. Okay.
Yes, ma'am, got it.
Okay. So now after looking this file path, next we have covered everything inside manifest. I will close this thing. Then I will also close this thing because we're not going to visit it again. But yes, we may come back here. So now looking at the code, so button is just having a caption as take photo, and it is calling a method dispatch take pitch intent. Okay. So if you find it very difficult, this lengthy name, you can just rename it. But one thing I would like to highlight here is we as a, I mean, we are not literal programmers, but whenever we code, we write some dummy names. But I would advise you to stop that habit, because when you will actually join your company, for each and every single thing, I mean, for each and every single variable, you have to give some meaningful name. So in that case, for us now, this looks still pretty small and simple and fine, right? But I have seen the code wherein people used to give really very lengthy names also. I mean, which actually defines the task of that variable or that module. So the to cut it short, the only intention is to say that we have to make an habit of writing the function name with respect to the job that it is performing. Okay. So now coming to the code. Code is very simple. You don't have to worry. I'll just first minimize everything, collapse every function. Then you will try to understand how many function exactly we have used. Okay. So if you can see the code, I will also collapse this. We'll come back to import part at the end. Okay. So first of all, how many, what you can say, the global variables we have in our project. So we have this request take photo, which is initialized to one, and two string variables. One is for image file name, and one is for the path, which is getting returned by this function create image file, so that we can convert it into URI and store our image. And next is two view variables or two view objects, we can say image view and text view. Okay, so of course inside on create method you can now assume what lines of code must be written. So it is just to initialize this to view objects. Okay, because this are going to be used in the corresponding method, so we are not going to do anything with respect to this variables inside on create. Okay, so on create is very simple. It is just initializing both the view objects, so the IDs of which may be assigned inside the XML. So you can see the IDs for image view, it is image view, and for where is text view? Because why we need to work with the text view? Because we need to set the text view with the file name. Okay, so on create is very simple. Then coming to the first function which our button is invoking, that is dispatch take picture intent. So what this function is basically doing, so it is going to invoke the camera app with the implicit intent mechanism. So here we had already set an action to action image capture, and we are, before we are going ahead, we are trying to see whether the intent resolution has been done successfully, whether we are able to get a camera app or the activity which can handle the given intent. Okay, so to do so, we need to write intent dot resolve activity, and this will going to accept a parameter whether null or not null. So here we can first make a call to get package manager. If it is resolving to not null, which means that we can go ahead, means the activity or the camera has been located. Okay. So now what are we doing once the camera has been invoked? So the image which we were going to click also need to be converted into a file. Okay. So this file object has been created here. Okay. Which is first set to null. Okay. And inside try catch block, we are initializing this file object with the value that is returned by this method. Okay. Which is create image file. So let us look at what this create image file is doing. So that is a function we saw yesterday. Like it is just trying to create some file name for image with the initial file name begins with JPEG underscore and followed by timestamp and underscore. So whatever is the remaining numbers or the characters that is being appended by the file system, so that will get appended after this. So here we are pointing towards the directory pictures which will be getting created after referring this path. So here inside the directory pictures we will going to create the instance of this file, okay, which is a form of an image. Okay, so here will going to pass all the three parameters. So first is the file name, second is the suffix, that is the extension, and the third one is the directory structure, or you can say the directory location. Okay, storage directory, or you can say. So this method is basically assigning the file name and creating or converting the image in a form of a file, and it is returning that file. Okay, so as you can see, the return type is file. So here the file object is correctly initialized to the file which is being created by this function called create image file, and in addition to that it is also initializing the string variable. Okay, that is we had declared here current photo path. So where this has been stored, its absolute path, like from beginning, which is starting from Android data and all. So that will going to be stored inside this current photo path, because as we know that we don't work with the URL, we always have to work with the URI. So this need to be passed to some function which can convert it into URI. So that is why we are saving a file path. Okay, here. So this function basically does only this much job, like creating an image file and assigning some suitable file name and storing it inside the directory structure. So I hope this function is understood, create image file. And as
Yes, ma'am.
I said yesterday, this must be some of the import which is from the Java. So you can see here we had imported two Java packages, namely simple date format and for date. So wherever you had invoked the date function, so for that we had used the java.util.date, and wherever you had used this file creation, the file objects, so for that you had this java.io.file. Okay, we'll see soon where this output stream is being also used. Okay, so this is how this method works. And now coming back to the point where we left, so assume that here the file the image file has been created. So we need to put it in a try catch block, because as I said yesterday, if suppose your device is running out of storage or don't have access, or if it is not mounted, whatever error it can give, so that will going to capture inside this function try catch. Okay, so now next is, if suppose we have successfully got the photo, okay, then what we need to do, so as I said, we need to perform the access, or we need to get the URI of the media or of the file which is being going to be accessed by the file provider, because here we are using the file provider, so that this file provider will going to store the media inside the some location, okay, inside the storage, and will thereby make it accessible to the other applications. Okay, so that is the job of the file provider. So as we, if you don't remember again, so you can see it here. So file provider is a subclass of content provider which gives you the ability to share a file or folder with the other app in your phone. So if you are in a need to achieve this ability, then you have to go with this content provider, that is the file provider. Okay. So that is what we are doing it. And we are calling this function get URI for file, which is accepting three parameters. So first is the context of this application, then the authority, which is nothing but our package name, and the photo file. So photo file is nothing but this actual image, okay, which has been, or the actual image file which has been created. So we are getting it in the form of a URI. And why we are doing so? Because as you know, for implicit intent, okay, so whenever you are calling some activity and you want some data to be written back, okay, or when you're trying to send some data, so data, so always remember now, we have category, we have data, we have action. Action we have already specified, and along with the action we also sending a data, and data are always sent or accessed or created, whatever, you know, URI need to be there. So first we had got its URI. Okay, so get URI for, by calling this method get URI for file. And now what are we doing? We are calling put extra method before, you know, we are invoking the start activity for result. So we first we are preparing our intent, and how we are preparing the intent, this time we are making use of some other constant or the flag for storing our data. So this is a URI form of a data which is stored inside the extra output, and since this is an image data, okay, like a media, so we are using media store dot extra underscore output. Okay. And once the intent is being prepared, now we are calling a method start activity for result, passing this intent and passing the request code, which is initialized to 1. So I hope this method, I mean, this function is understood what it is doing. So it's basically creating a call, I mean, creating an intent to call with an action as an action image capture, which can launch a camera. Okay. It is also looking at whether the camera app is found or not. It is also looking at the creation of the image file, and it is also looking converting that image file path from, I mean, image file from file to the URI. And once the URI has been got, then it is sending it, and it is calling the method start activity for result, rather just calling the start activity. Why it is calling start activity for result? Because after capturing the image, we need to also retrieve the image. So we need to return something back, which will going to implement it after overriding the on activity result. So let us have a look at what on activity result is doing. So here on activity result, before it can proceed, it is first checking the request code and the result code. And if that is okay, it is going ahead and converting the image into the bitmap and setting it to the image view. So just ignore this line of a code, as of now it doesn't carry any significance. But what this line of a code is actually doing is, so suppose somewhere if you had, you know, tagged your images, okay, with the tag as images, or the type as images, and every time when the images is created, because assume that this you would be, this model you would be, you know, using it for creating the profile pictures. So somewhere, you know, the image file when it is getting created, so it will be assigned this constant name rather than, you know, having this jpeg and all. So in that case, it always keeps a check whether this image, I mean, already exists, then it just performs a delete, or maybe you can just call a method which can update it. Okay, so this is not as of now required and carrying any importance in this code execution. So here onwards, we can see that, you know, we had seen this in the previous session also. So wherein we are calling this bitmap factory. So accordingly, you know, this is like the graphics library where we are, you know, taking its feature of converting the image into the bitmap. And so we are passing the path where we have, you know, stored our bitmap. So as you can recall again, this method, you know, which we have seen, create image file, it was saving this file absolute, I mean, file ka absolute path. So that is what we are doing it here. And we are making use of a file output stream reader. So to create the image file in the form of a you know, output stream, and then performing some compression. So why we are doing so? Because, you know, whenever you are working with the media files like images and all, as a developer, we always look for compressing the given media files, because it can take a lot of space into the user device. So just for you can say a precaution or as a good habit, we are doing this. Otherwise, this is also not required, because if you can see inside our actual code, we are just getting the data and we are setting the data. I mean, through the intent, we are getting this bitmap and we are typecasting it to the bitmap and we are setting it. So just to avoid all the pre-processing part, we can also follow this step, or otherwise you can do some sort of pre-processing that you want to do on the image. So this basically is showing you okay, why there's a need to convert it into output stream. Suppose in case if you want to work with the image, you want to do some sort of pre-processing, so you can convert it into its like stream format, and then later on apply various bitmap functions on it, like compress, recompress, decode and all, and then go ahead with setting it or storing it into the backend or something like that. Okay, so this is just for example purpose, but as of now, if you look at the actual functionality that we had carried out, we just wanted to make this media stored into the uh, storage and accessible across the other applications. So अगर वो नहीं करना है तो this can be completely avoided. Okay, so now after that, assume that here we are doing some optional pre-processing step, which can be completely ignored. Okay, and we can directly jump onto this interesting part where we are just setting the image bitmap, and at the same time when the image, you had seen when we had captured the image, the file name of image was also shown inside the text view. So this both things have been done together inside this on activity result. So what is the purpose of on activity result? Once the image has been captured, it has to be returned. So it is returning the image. Okay. So for that, it need to find out the absolute path. So from that path, it has fetched the image, it has converted into bitmap, it has done some pre-processing, and it is setting it back onto the image view. So out of this, some of the steps which have been written here is optional. We can completely avoid it. Okay. And additionally, it is calling a method gallery add pic. Why? Because on UI we want just image captured image to be seen, file name is to be displayed, but behind the scene it should also add this media to the gallery, isn't it? So that we can, after closing this app, we can go back into our gallery and try to see whether the captured image is found or not. So for that, we had written one user defined function, that is gallery add pic. Okay, so now let us jump to that function, what it is doing. So that function is simply, scanning the media and creating the URI and passing it to the media scan intent. I mean, through the set data, because for this purpose also we need to have or invoke the application which is a gallery app. Okay, and when we are in a need to invoke a gallery app, we're going to create an intent which is an implicit one, and we're going to pass the action which says action media scanner scan file. Okay, and for that, first, because everything, everywhere in every function in every module, we are referring this media with the help of its path. Okay, but for a final resolution we are converting it into the URI. Okay, so wherever the final task is to be performed, before that we are passing it into the URI form. So first get the media, okay, get the media through its path into the file object, and gets the get or converted it into URI form. Okay, so call this method URI.from file. So always remember, wherever you have any type of a file you want to pass it into the form of URI, you can write this line of a code. Okay, so once you have got the URI, before you are invoking this media gallery app, okay, so you have to first set the data, because this only has to be scanned, okay, by the your media scanner or by your gallery. So this is media scanner is like a very pure technical term for gallery. For Android users it is gallery, but for developer it is media scanner, you can say. So this is one and the same. The only difference is that in the next line is we are not calling we are not writing a method like start activity or start activity for result, because we really don't want the gallery app to be appeared onto our UI, because you have seen, because it is doing this behind the UI. Okay, so we have nowhere able to see that a gallery app has popped out here. So just gallery app need to know that yes, some media is getting added and that has to be scanned or read appropriately. So this time we are calling the or we are sending the broadcast. So you have to assume that the gallery app might already be having some broadcast receiver registered in it, which can listen to all this type of an event. So we are just invoking, or we are just calling the method send broadcast and passing the intent. So intent is all anyway carrying the information. The first is the action and the second is the data. Okay, so that's how it will going to appear inside your gallery app. Okay, so that's it for this code discussion. I hope I haven't missed out on anything which is required for this entire project to work. And if at all, if I had missed anything, so those are nothing but the imports. Okay, so you can look at various imports and you can yourself analyze for what purpose they might have been used. Somewhere we had, as I told, we had used we have done some pre-processing, so we needed to convert it into output stream. So this is the Java package which is invoked. Then for file provider, this is the support package which is invoked. Then whenever we have invoked the get file external directory or the environment variable environment.directory picture, so we have invoked, I mean, we are in need of this package to be get imported. Okay, and along with the file provider, as you can see, gallery or the media store is also a kind of a provider itself. So I would like to where I have written somewhere, just give me a moment. Huh. So your self-study task would be, students to find out, like as I listed onto my slide, the different provider classes. Okay. So you can find out what are the different provider classes available. Okay. So you have seen this media store. So till now, I can say we have used media store. We had also used context contract while working with the implicit intent. I had also given you one demo of a broadcast receiver, बट लेट इज नॉट कंसिडर दैट बिकॉज वो इन डिटेल उसका कोड डिस्कशन हमने नहीं किया है. ओके, सो सिमिलरली इफ यू आर इन अ नीड, सपोज एक हमने one view we had worked with a calendar, right? If you can recall that I had shown you one calendar view as, तो वहाँ पे अगर suppose if you are really in a need to get into the different data or the different content that calendar can have, so you can go ahead and work with any of this uh, content that calendar can provide, like calendars itself, events, instances, attendees, reminders, or some extended properties. So self study is to pick any one of this existing provider class and go in depth and try to find out what other things it has to offer and how we can incorporate that in our code. Okay, so let us say if I want to invoke a calendar and see what are the events, and if I want to add one of my event and want to see, so I will create one app which can add an event, and I want to see whether the event getting added or not. Or you can even do vice versa. Okay, so you can see whether you can extract the already entered event from the calendar contract and show it inside your app. So just something like this, you can create a scenario of your own, like the one which we have created here, because it is very much useful also whenever you are going to write the project part where, or the module where you are capturing the user profile image or any image, because we have extensive use of a camera, because as you know that while discussing the problem statement, I was stressing much more about how you're using a camera. So you had created a scenario with respect to your problem statement, so this can be useful over there. Okay, so I hope that is all clear. Any doubt that you have, you can ask me. Meanwhile, before I proceed for the attendance. Yes. If no, then I can go ahead.
No doubt, ma'am.
Actually, I have captured some image and it is present in my gallery, but I'm very much reluctant to show my gallery because it is having a lot of waste material in it, you can say. So that's why I'm suggesting you to try out this application in from the what you can say classroom, and you don't try to exactly create, or you may first try to get a confidence by rerunning the same code, and you create one project and try to stuck all this thing properly, and when you're done, then try to run the code, as I said, not from emulator, but from your device. Okay, and see how it is working. And then later on, if you want to change anything into it, then you just change it and get it in the way that you want to work. And there was something that I wanted to discuss. Huh, this one. So this is the same example that I had, put in the document, and the reason behind showing this is whenever you are, submitting any programming assignment, or let us say, whenever you are submitting any programming exercise or programming question in your exam, you try to see that it is done in this format. Okay, because every time it happens that I run out of time, I don't get time to discuss all these things, but today somehow I managed to do it. So you make sure that you capture the entire IDE screen, okay, and make and capture it in such a way that I should be able to read the code, because I have seen that many places I wasn't able to interpret the code itself. वो visible ही नहीं है मेरे लिए. So how would I evaluate? And it becomes very, I mean, difficult for me to, in spite of zooming in also, it is not of so much use, because इतना मैं अपने आँखों को और stress नहीं दे सकती हूँ. Already I started wearing my specs regularly. So just from your side, because anyway you have to upload some of the other thing, right? But what if you can upload it nicely? So as you can see, if I little bit do zooming, तो मुझे थोड़ा अच्छे से दिख सकता है वो, isn't it? So if I do it, तो मैं एटलीस्ट कोड क्या लिखा है अच्छे से हाईलाइटिंग भी है सिंटैक्स का. तो इफ यू पेस्ट इट, आई मीन योर कोड लाइक दिस ना, whether in any form of programming assignment or programming question, तो it would become very much simple for me. अभी ये तो ठीक है, ये वाला मॉड्यूल छोड़ दो, ये प्रोजेक्ट छोड़ दो, because it is quite lengthy. तो आपको तो इतना लेंदी कोड मे बी आई वुड नॉट गिव एट एनी टाइम. बट इफ सपोज ऐसा कुछ आपको कोड है, तो आई वुड प्रेफर कि आप अगर उसको इस फॉर्म में अपलोड करोगे. तो अभी देखो, ये प्रोजेक्ट बहुत सूटेबल है एग्जाम्पल के लिए, बिकॉज इसमें काफ़ी सारे फाइल्स का मैंने आई हैव टेकन द स्निपेट. तो यहाँ पे कैसा है कि if suppose your project is like this, where you have multiple files, at least two files. अभी समझ लो, मैंने अगर आपको एक्सप्रेस इंटेंट का कोड पूछा होगा, तो उसमें एट द मैक्स आपके पास दो ही फाइल रहेगा. तो यू जस्ट हैव टू ओपन दैट फाइल एंड कैप्चर इट एंड पुट इट लाइक दिस. सो डिफरेंट फाइल्स आई कैन और ये मेरे लिए बहुत सिंपल है, लाइक इन एट अ ग्लांस आई कैन सी एवरीथिंग. Okay, and output part mein you can paste the emulator screenshot like this in one go. Okay, you don't have to really put it one below each other, because abhi to yahan pe aapko kuch print lena nahi hai, so there is no constraint of page and all. So you can just go ahead like this and you can create your document. तो ये क्या होता है, ये बहुत सिंप्लीफाई हो जाता है, बहुत easier and convenient way for me to look at your work done. I hope you're getting it right. And additionally, for each of the screenshot, if you can just write कि अब समझो यहाँ पे बहुत सारे modules हमने लिखे हुए हैं, right? Many, I think 4 to 5 functions we have written. So what? So this screenshot is meant for which function? So I can directly, read the heading and jump onto that function. अच्छा हाँ, यहाँ पे you are trying to, talk about this. तो ये बहुत easy हो जाएगा हमारे लिए. तो ऐसा कुछ अगर आप स्क्रीनशॉट लेके व्हेन यू विल पोस्ट इट, तो वो बहुत कन्वीनियंट हो जाता है. तो जस्ट ट्राई टू सी इफ व्हेनेवर नेक्स्ट टाइम we are doing some sort of programming assignment or something like that, you are doing it like this. Okay, so now let me go ahead with the attendance.
Ma'am, can you also paste that link, GitHub link in the chat?
हाँ हाँ चलेगा ना, no problem, I will share this. बिकॉज आई माई सेल्फ हैव नॉट एवर रिकॉर्डेड कि ये कहाँ से लिया था, तो अभी मैंने सोचा चलो दिस गुड टाइम टू डू इट. बिकॉज हम लोग क्या है ना, फ्लो में व्हेन वी डू एनीथिंग तो वो करते हैं, बट बाद में वी यूज्ड टू फॉरगेट. And there are some more links I wanted to share for your study purpose, so that also I would do. Two more links I had created found, like this is this page itself, I mean it's talking about making use of content provider with secure mechanism, like the permission levels and all. तो थोड़ा इसके बारे में थोड़ा सा देख लोगे तो अच्छा है. because when we are developing something, the security is also, because we are with content provider, we are trying to expose our data. So what are the care which are needed, तो उसके बारे में थोड़ा सा डिस्कशन है, बाकी तो इतना नहीं है. ठीक है, that's it. The rest of the thing we will going to cover in the next class. Okay, answer your roll call, or you call out your numbers in a sequence.
Ma'am, roll number 3 present.
Roll number 6 present.
Roll number 8.
Roll number 5.
Roll number 17.
Roll number 19.
21.
Roll
ma'am.
number 10 is put in chat.
Next.
Roll number 24.
20 present.
24 and 20.
1 ma'am.
20. Just 20.
26.
22.
27.
Anyone? 21 or
रोल नंबर 70.
70 कहाँ से आ गया बीच में? अब पहले ये इनको फिनिश करने दो. 29 to 35.
31.
32.
34.
35.
29 is also present.
Has he put in the chat?
26.
Hello, ma'am. 29 present.
Okay. Next.
Ma'am, 32.
38.
39.
45.
I'm 40 as well.
Ma'am, 46.
47.
48.
49.
50. 52.
54.
55.
56.
59 ma'am.
60.
62.
63, ma'am.
69, ma'am.
मैम 70.
64, 67 not there. So 1, 12, 21, 30, 33, 37, 41, 51, 53, 58. Yes.
Ma'am, 21 present, ma'am.
Oh. But you didn't.
Ma'am, 58 is also present.
Who is 58?
I was.
21 is Manish, right?
Yes, ma'am. I spoken, ma'am, 2-3 times.
58 कौन है? Who is 58? Are you here, Kritik?
मैम एक्चुअली उसका नेट चला गया अभी जस्ट थोड़ी देर पहले.
ऐसे कैसे हो यार? Need to download the list then. ठीक है, those who have given, I mean, whose attendance have been done, they can leave. See here, it is not displaying anything, so ask him to give the attendance.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.